President Trump's once again defending comments he made about the white supremacists and neo-Nazis who gathered in Charlottesville 2 years ago to protest the removal of that statue of Robert E. Lee. The president says his original statement about very fine people on both sides was answered perfectly. Let's watch.
Oh, I've answered that question, and if you look at what I said, you will see that that question was answered perfectly. And I was talking about people that went because they felt very strongly about the monument to Robert E. Lee, a great general. Whether you like it or not, he was one of the great generals. I've spoken to many generals here, right at the White House, and many people thought of the generals. They think that he was maybe their favorite general. People were there protesting the taking down of the monument of Robert E. Lee. Everybody knows that.
Well, the people protesting the removal of that statue were chanting "White Lives Matter" and "Jews will not replace us." By the way, I don't think, whatever you think of Robert E. Lee, and I get certain mixed views about the guy at best, I don't think he was marching under the swastika. For more, I'm joined by Eugene Robinson, columnist of the Washington Post, and Bret Stephens, columnist for the New York Times. First, Gene, then Bret, was Biden smart, not just on moral grounds, but on political or strategic grounds, to open his salvo with, you got to get rid of this guy?
Yeah, I think it was.
I'm sorry.
It was
Go ahead, Bret.
It was ingenious on his part. I'm speaking politically because I think Biden's brand comes down to one word, which is decency. And leaving aside complaints about the president's economic policy, his environmental policy, domestic or foreign policy, what I think most people, especially in middle America, really dislike about this president is the sense that at a basic level, he is an indecent human being. And the comments that he made at Charlottesville bring that home, I think, more powerfully and more pointedly than anything else he has said in his presidency. So that is exactly the right point of attack for Biden. We might have a strong economy in a year's time. It might be the case that America is still more or less at peace in the world. But what really disquiets, I think, a lot of wavering Americans who would like, who are not, haven't yet made up their minds about who they're going to vote for, is that you have a president who shames them, who embarrasses them, who embarrasses us, who embarrasses me. And so that's why choosing Charlottesville was morally the right thing to do and politically smart as well.
Gene, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Brad. It was, just strictly in the political sense, it allowed Biden to sort of isolate himself against Trump. It's me against Trump. I need to. I'm running for president to save us from this, and then he picks the unforgettable, viscerally horrifying moment of Charlottesville. For impact, and it had a lot of impact. And look, Biden sounded sincere in that video. Now, he's a practiced politician. He knows what he's doing, but he sounded sincere. For the record, Robert E. Lee was more than a military tactician. He was the leader of a treasonous military rebellion. He could have chosen,
and if he had gone to the other side, if he had stuck with the Union, it would have been great.
He was a West Point graduate.
It would have been great. He didn't.
He was a traitorous leader of a rebellion, an armed insurrection against the United States.
You're getting letters, Gene. They're coming.
I want letters.
Okay. Let me ask you about the politics, because it seems to me, I know you're a progressive, your writing is fabulous on that, and I get the feeling that a lot of progressives in the Democratic Party would like to have the candidate who's as progressive as possible and still beat Trump. They want to solve the simultaneous equation. And Biden was saying, don't be too risky out there, because there's a big stakes here if we lose.
I'll just speak for myself. That would be fine with me. I mean, I don't speak for the Democratic Party, and we fight the last war, so we struggle to understand what happened in 2016 and where people are in this and that, and everything changes, of course, and so nobody knows what's happening in 2020. But I think that might be right. I think that might be the general sort of
as progressive
idea.
As you can get away with and win.
Right,
but you have to win.
I know a lot of people who think that, and whether or not that's the sort of prevailing view in most of the party, we'll see.